The Ganbare Goemon series is going to be turning 40 years old this year. This means that the Ganbare Goemon series has been going on ever since 1986. Goemon has always been one of my favorite franchises for me in my heart. Even though it has been pretty much dormant for several years, we are now finally getting Ganbare Goemon Daishugo coming to the Nintendo Switch and PS5 this year in July. So pretty much to celebrate the 40th anniversary, I decided to look back at all the Goemon games that I've played on both emulation, and now gonna try to find out what are my favorite tracks from every Goemon game. We're gonna be going through them all, but only with a few exceptions. We are not gonna be counting any other games that have remixed the previous Goemon tracks in the past, such as Ganbare Goemon's Seikushi Dynamite's Arawaru for Game Boy Color. We're also not going to be counting Tokai Dochu, which also remixes music as well. We are also not going to be counting any of the Goemon reboots, such as Boken Jidai Katsukage Goemon and the New Age Goemon games. So with all said, let's get to it. Ganbare Goemon Karakuri Dochu is our first game on the list. Even though Ganbare Goemon Karakuri Dochu feels very archaic and look a lot like an arcade game, kind of like its first game, Mr. Goemon, there are a couple of few positives when it comes to its music. For me, I kind of like the shop music. It's actually pretty catchy. But outside this one track, all the other tracks just didn't got me my attention anyway. But anyway, let's move on to the next game, shall we? I think for many people, including myself, that Ganbare Goemon 2 on the Famicom is a massive improvement over its predecessor. But anyway, for the music department, well, like the previous game, I think Goemon 2 only has one really catchy soundtrack in my opinion. That being, once again, the shop music. Please, take a listen. There's just something about the shopping theme in Goemon 2 that always makes me a good bit of a laugh, honestly. And I kind of like humor, and that's what Goemon's all about. It's all about the action, the humor, and the ridiculous things that's going on. But anyway, let's move on to the next game. If you already saw my retrospective on the entirety of The Legend of the Mystical Ninja, The Legend of the Mystical Ninja, or Ganbare Goemon Yukihime Kyushutsu Imaki, is still one of my top 10 favorite SNES games of all time. But enough about the game. Go watch my video about it if you want to. But anyway, this game has so much fantastic music. First off is the excellent catchy vibes of the Horo Temple. To the traditionally sound music of Goemon's home, or Oedo Town. To the calmful breeze of the town of Yamato. I also love the nice, smooth, dramatic feeling of the Otafu Army's headquarters theme. It's actually pretty catchy, and I kind of like it a lot. Take a listen. There's even that weird, ambient, mysterious vibe of the Kyoto area. There's even the wilderness feel of the Izumo Pond. Honestly, one of my personal tracks, if not my favorite personal one in the game, being Ryukyu Kingdom. It really blends the mix of goofiness and a nice, beautiful, warm melody. And let's not forget probably one of my favorite castle levels in musics on the entire SNES library, being King Ryukyu Secret. Just the mix of the beautiful, intense vibe, as well as the nice techno music that comes after it, really makes it really unforgettable. It's really, really good. Seriously, I can literally talk about this one single track all day. But anyway, that was a lot of talking about this game. But anyway, let's move on to the next game. There's no time to waste. Now, there are a ton of good aspects about Ganbare Goemon 2, Kikiretsu Shogun Beginners on the Super Famicom. But for me, I think there's a lot lesser catchy soundtracks for my taste, honestly, compared to the first game. But let's get started with probably the first track when it comes to mind being the Fortress theme. To the adventurous and peaceful vibe of Somewhat in Log Road. But in my opinion, the best track in the game, hands down, is, without a doubt, Fish Lake. There's just something about the peaceful vibe about it. It really, really reminds me about Japan. So overall, Ganbare Goemon 2, Kikiretsu Shogun Beginners has some really good soundtracks, but for me, honestly, it is not as give me that good type of dance moves compared to the first game did, The Legend of the Mystical Ninja. But anyway, let's move on to the next game. Now it's time for the third Super Famicom. In my opinion, I always think that Ganbare Goemon 3 on the Super Famicom is probably my least favorite of the 4 Goemon games released for the console. It just mostly goes down to the fact that there's just so much information you have to talk to, as well as without a guide, it is pretty much impossible to try to know which place where you gotta go next. But outside of that though, Goemon 3 does have only has 2 tracks I actually like, versus actually the Stage 5. There's even also the strange, mysterious vibe of Stage 7. So yeah, that was Ganbare Goemon 3. This section has been very short so far. Speaking of that, maybe I should go back and play it again, but this time with a guide up so I can know what I'm doing. But anyway, let's move on to the next game. Ganbare Goemon Karakuri Dochu is probably my second favorite Goemon game on the SNES, just behind Legend of the Mystical Ninja. But anyway, there are tons of really good catchy tracks in Karakuri Dochu. Let's start off with the Desert Moon Town theme. Then there's the Forest Moontown theme, which always reminds me of the Ba Ba from New Super Mario Bros. There's also that nice rhythmic, goofy-like tone in the Ice Moon Town. I also love the intense and upbeat vibes of the Ice Moon Cliffs. It always gives me a more adventurous vibe every time I play this level. And finally, my last favorite song from Karakuri Dochu is, without a doubt, The Moonstad. It always reminds me, after a long journey, it's totally deserved. Overall, Karakuri Dochu has fantastic songs in its soundtrack. But now it's time for us to move on to the 3D era, the N64 era, often considered the golden age of Goemon. So let's not waste any time here. Released in North America in April of 1998, mystical ninja starring Goemon, or known in Japan as Ganbare Goemon Neo Momoyama Bakufu no Odori, is probably most likely, without a doubt, one of my all-time favorite games of all time, and probably edges over Legend of the Mystical Ninja for being my favorite Goemon game of all time. Now, we must talk about the first track of this game being the legendary theme of Goemon, or the theme of the Mystical Ninja. The Ganbare Goemon theme, or this title, theme of Goemon, was actually composed by Hironobu Kageyama, who is well known for doing the opening theme songs for both Dragon Ball Z with Chala, He Chala, and the opening theme song for Chojin Sentai Jetman as well. He is a legendary performer, and he's still around today as of this video. He is one of the greatest singers in all time in anime, and I really had to appreciate his work for making such a really well-composed song, especially for the N64. First off, let's start off with the first song in the actual true game, that being Oedo Town First Start. This is a perfect way to pretty much introduce the world of Oedo Town to the new player. But where the true adventure begins is when we have to head to Mount Fuji with Kai Highway. There is the positive afternoon vibes of normal Oedo Town. And there's also the beautiful Japanese-style vibes of Oedo Castle, which is honestly a perfect way to start off the first castle in the game. And honestly, I will just keep this scene speak for itself. This song was created by the legendary Ichiro Mizuki, who is well known for his opening theme songs for both Kamen Rider X and, of course, Mazinger Z. His role in doing the theme song for Mazinger Z is kind of relatable because just like Mazinger Z, Goemon Impact is pretty much a mecha, which totally fits his style of music flair, which just fits perfectly to Goemon's style of humor. Let's move on to something less exciting, shall we? And let's talk about the more calmly sounding Zazen Town. Now, when it comes to the track of Yamato, it always gives me that nice, beautiful morning vibe, always getting ready for what the day has ahead for me. Then there's a track known as Tosa Region, and it's probably one of my favorites in the game, mostly because it gives me a mood to go on a nice long hike in the bamboo woods of Japan. When it comes to all the tracks in this game, there is one unique one that it needs to be stand out more. That being the Ghost Toys Castle theme. It's different because there's not really that much Japanese elements until the Part 3 segment version of it. But anyway, it's really cool. It's a track that mixes a ton of things that the West usually hear. I also like the track of Fully Polka Village. It always reminds me of that good vibe when I ever like to go jogging out in my small little village. And then there is Bizen Kurashiki. This one always reminds me when I'm always having a wild time at the playground when I used to be in elementary school. Now this is another classic that I also love, that being the Festival Temple Castle theme. It really blows out all the Japanese out of the water and puts in this full party style theming. It's really good, and I would highly recommend you putting this on at any time, even during a party. And for Festival Village, my goodness, this track hits me harder than any other track in this game. It gives me that type of mood out for peace and harmony that I wish this world can have nowadays. Then there's Gourmet Submarine, which, despite being super tasty looking, sadly we cannot eat it, but at least the music is really a good mixture of both suspense and beautiful Japanese composition music, with beautiful Japanese instruments. I kind of like this one. Can I tell you what's better after such a fantastic banger song? Another good banger song, this being Gorgeous Musical Castle. It's a perfect way to end off the whole game. It's such a fantastic piece of music where it becomes super intense and ready for the battle fight of your life. So as a whole, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon has so many fantastic tracks, like The Legend of Mystical Ninja, but unlike the SNES game, this game has way more. In fact, almost every single main track in the game are all very important and mean something to me. They all mean something that means emotionally. It gets me dancing, it gets me thinking, it gets me emotional. There are just so many good tracks, and that's what a game's soundtrack should be. It should make you dance, upbeat, and also think for a second about your emotions. But anyway, let's move on to the next and final game on this video. The final game on this list in this video will be Goemon's Great Adventure. Released in 1999 in September for North America, Goemon's Great Adventure would go on to become the final Goemon game to date as of right now to be translated to English and released overseas. But anyway, this game is pretty much a solid title. But now let's talk about the music. Let's start off with the most obvious one, being Taking Care of the Horses, which appears in level 1. Then there's the track Beware of the Bones. It always gets me ready when I battle against that big, huge, nasty skeleton boss on the bridge. And probably my second favorite track, which will be coming up in a moment, being Burning My Soul. Burning My Soul is such a fantastic castle track for a Wado castle once being burned. Probably my all-time favorite track in Goemon's Great Adventure is without a doubt Please Come and Grow. It's such a good mix of beautiful Japanese instruments and it always gives me that good sense of adventure in Goemon, which is totally what Goemon is made for. So after a really fantastic track, I say we should finally wrap up this video. The Goemon series is home to some very overlooked and underrated soundtracks and music. And if you have not played any of the Goemon games, I highly recommend you do, or or at least just to listen to the Goemon OSTs. They will help you a lot, I promise. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. This was a lot of fun to make. And if you liked it, make sure to give it a like, comment what you thought about it, and of course subscribe to the channel. My name is Lucas, and thank you for watching. Goodbye!